not going to have compassion for those people. They're threatening me. They're trying to take away my liberty. They don't deserve compassion. And from like a spiritual standpoint, like that's just like inconsistent. Like if you can't have compassion for people you dislike, who you distrust, who you think are bad people, like it's not really compassion. It's like selective compassion, and that's not how compassion works. But I really like to clarify with this that compassion does not mean submission. You can completely stand your ground, hold the line, not comply at all, be vocal about why you're not complying, and also understand why people are behaving in the way they are, why they believe the things they do. And I think if you really look at someone's life and history, there'll be like a good reason why they believe that. And if you can have empathy for that, if you can have compassion for that, like not only does it benefit them, whether they even feel or not, like on an energetic level, like to be seen, to be understood. Again, I'm still going to rationally completely disagree with what you're saying. And I'm going to like, I'll do that for the rest of my life. Like, no way, I will not comply. That's ridiculous. That's gibberish. You're talking stage gibberish. No way. And maybe that's mean to say, like, not gibberish, but like,
No, I love
at
it. It
least
is.
that's my mindset about
I
it.
mean, they use
But
like
like,
legalese, and I think legalese is
right.
gibberish. So
Right,
yeah.
exactly. But it's like, and so like how I often present it is like, okay, forget about those people then. This is for yourself. Because day to day, if you live, and we've been talking about this a lot, but if you live in this activation, like this judgment, this reactivity, like it doesn't feel good. It's like corrosive on the inside. And that was my experience. Like I just got to a point where it was like surrender. Like I can't live this way anymore. It doesn't feel good to be activated all the time. And like more recently, I've gotten into the nervous system stuff, like limbic system, which really affects the entire body. So it's like a whole body thing. But like it's on a biological level. You're constantly activated. You're in fight or flight mode. You're pumping out cortisol and adrenaline. Like that's not taking care of yourself. So even if it's like a completely, if the compassion starts with self-interest, like who cares? Let's be compassionate to yourself, be
Right.
kind to yourself, because it doesn't feel good to live that way, and it can actually have like real health
I
consequences.
think the conclusion that you'll come to when you do that, at least in my experience, and I
Hmm.
imagine you'd say the same, is that, okay, I want to have compassion for self.
Hmm.
And that means that when I'm feeling this perpetual anger towards someone else, I'm not feeling compassion for myself because I'm
Yeah.
not feeling good inside. So
Yeah.
maybe I need to resolve the
Hmm.
feelings of perpetual anger towards someone else, which means that I should
Right.
probably learn to have compassion for them.
Right. Right. And it can be something as simple as like, ooh, I see how hard this is. Like somebody sees that's me. I see what a hard time I'm having. Not like, oh, you shouldn't feel this way. Like this is a stupid way to feel. Suck
Right.
it up. Get over it. Like you need to be compassionate. Like no, it's just like literally just your hand on your heart. Like, ooh, this I feel this in my heart and it hurts right now and it sucks to feel this way.
Yeah.
Literally just like a statement of fact. But just that act of showing up for yourself, it's so simple, but it over time it does make a difference. And then it allows you to see that in other people. Because like I was saying earlier, like whether it's a statist or an anarchist, voluntarist, whatever you want to call it, like we see so much of the same reactivity because we're all human beings.
Mm.
Like we all have these feelings and these emotions, and we might manifest or like believe in different solutions because of it, but it's the same fundamental feelings. And I think if we can get in touch with that, like that's such a better way forward to just like, yeah, I was
Yeah.
looking at the sign right there. But it's true. Like that's such a more grounded and peaceful way to exist as human beings than like this constant battle within ourselves and then against each other. Because ultimately, like I think most of these battles we fight against each other is because of the ones we have in ourselves.
100%. And this plays right into voluntarism. You think about self-ownership from a
Hmm.
physical level. This is self-ownership on a metaphysical
Hmm.
level. And really, I would say the metaphysical components or aspects of life are far more important and
Hmm.
actually underpin the physical reality.
Yeah, completely agree. And I know that that's like, that's not a common conversation, at least in my corner of the internet, but I think it's so fundamental because like our inner experience really is reflected in the outer
Right.
experience. And like you look around the world and you see how the average person is doing, like in their personal life and the feelings they're feeling, and it's not great. And like understandably so, but this comes from so many levels. And like the point isn't like, well, you have to like pull at every single thread and figure out why you feel this way and why you feel that way. Like that's kind of irrelevant. The point
Mhm.
is that you become aware of it and you start living from like a heart and spirit based reality. And like that's how you view it, or at least
Right.
that's how I try to
And
view it now.
even if you view all of that as woo woo, and you
Hmm.
view the idea that your thoughts and feelings and beliefs create your reality, you can look at it like, okay, if you have perpetually negative thoughts, I mean, you
Hmm.
mentioned like on a biological level,
Hmm.
the cortisol that is released when you're in a
Hmm.
perpetual state of fight, flight, or freeze. But even so, you look at, many people can refer back to this, like a grumpy grandparent who is just constantly negative the whole time.
Mhm.
That actually had real world implications for how
Mhm.
they showed up in the
Mhm.
world. And I think that we, as self-professed voluntarists, and those of you who are listening to this who are self-professed voluntarists, really are doing a disservice to ourselves
Mhm.
and to others who are trying to get to adopt these self-ownership beliefs
Mhm.
when we're not taking 100% ownership and responsibility for our emotions. And as you said in your presentation, it's not in a Ben Shapiro like way where it's like, I think you quoted him as saying like facts don't matter, feelings don't matter, something like
Like
that. Like,
facts don't care about
yeah, facts don't
feelings.
care about
Yeah.
feelings. And it's not in that context. It's that you need to process and feel
Mhm.
your shit as it arises, so you're not projecting it onto other people.
Mhm.
And I think that allows us to communicate these principles in a more grounded way
Mhm.
to where people feel empowered to become voluntarists, and they're not like, oh, I feel like a moron because I've been a statist my whole life and
Right.
you're telling me I'm a moron. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, you know what? That feels good. That feels right to be a
Right.
voluntarist. It feels good in my body.
Mhm. And it's so interesting as you're talking about that. I recently learned about the negativity bias. It's like this concept that as humans, negativity is like built into our brains, hardwired into how we function as a survival instinct. Like, and I was reading this in a book called Hardwiring Happiness, and he talks about like when we were hunter gatherers, I'm like talking that when people were hunter gatherers, I was not there.
2 weeks ago,
Like,
when I was a hunter gatherer.
right? Like it was safer. Like if you heard a rustle in a bush, it was safer to assume that was a tiger and like maybe be anxious for a little bit and run away and survive than to assume it wasn't a tiger and potentially die.
Mhm.
So our brains are built to perceive the negativity like just as a matter of survival, but that kind of like runs amok, especially in a status system like that. So it's very easy to constantly see the threats and see all the stress and latch on to that. But it is possible to like on a neurological level, like rewire your brain to not like you're not going to get rid of the negativity bias, but to counter it, like to see the good, to enjoy the good, like to soak it in and take it in. This is all from the book. I mean, it's not talking about statism, but he's talking about neural pathways and
It
rewiring
relates
them.
though.
Yeah,
It
it does
relates.
relate. And
Yeah.
it's like if you're like feeling super stressed out about, something you saw in the news, look at the sky. Oh my God, there are clouds out there. And like, not only is it beautiful for a second, you can soak that into your whole body. Like, it's so simple and it's really hard to do.
So funny
Like,
you
it's,
say that because like if I've spent a lot of time on my phone and I'm like sucked into some drama or something,
yeah,
I've had the exact same thought where I'm like, damn, the world is dope. Like this is
right.
cool. I'm just laying
Yeah.
looking at clouds in my backyard with
Yeah.
my son lying on my arm. I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, this is actually dope as hell. It's really not
Yeah.
that bad. And it's like, how much how do we where do we draw the line between being aware of what's going on and being
Hmm.
sucked into what's going on in the world? And
Right.
I think it comes back to how you feel in your body.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like just being mindful, like getting in the habit of paying attention to how your body feels. And it's really hard to get into it at first, but the more you do it, the more second nature it becomes. And like the point isn't just like, oh, it hurts in my heart, so I got to get rid of it. No, it's just like, okay, yeah, no wonder that hurts. This is a really difficult thing to be witnessing or paying attention to.
Right.
Like don't turn it away. Like it's not a bad thing. It just is.
Mm.
But turning it away, like it does start to wreak havoc, like year after year, like every single day when you live in that state. And I'm speaking from experience, and this is still a practice for me. Like to be clear, like I don't want to speak like I have it all figured out, and like I know I never have a negative thought. Like yeah, right. And it's having those negative thoughts and experiences to me has become such a great way to practice this.
Mm.
Like, ooh, cool. Like there's some sensation there. Like, what's it telling me? Like, how can I be kind to it?
Mm.
And then naturally, it's like as soon as you stop trying to force it to go away, when you just accept it, that's actually like when it does start to melt
Yeah,
away.
you just feel it and then it's gone
Yeah.
afterwards. And it's so empowering because you realize that you are not your thoughts,
Hmm.
feelings, and emotions, and that they don't actually have power over you. And it can seem just like the Wizard of Oz, something very big, bad, and scary, but it really is like a little man behind the curtain, just
Hmm.
like the government is. And it's
Yeah.
you just need to feel it. You just
Yeah.
need to experience it, name it, and feel it, and then it goes away.
Yeah. And
That's
it'll
all it
probably come
requires.
back and then you feel it again. And
Yeah.
then, and like
And it
over
gets
time.
easier though.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you stop judging it, like it becomes safer for it to arise. And that's actually been my experience is like when I stop judging and like pushing away, more comes up. And I'm like, oh no, it's never gonna end. But like you do reach like it just becomes part of the human experience, which to me, yeah, it's hard in the moment. It's hard to have feelings, but it's so much harder having lived both ways. It is exponentially harder to ignore them and to pretend like they don't exist and to run from them. And it
Mm.
causes so many more problems.
Just like statism indoctrination starts in the home when we're younger, when our parents are just in a very authoritarian way telling us what we should do and shouldn't
Mhm.
do. And, for some parents, beating the shit out of their kids. And then when we go to school and we're being told what we are supposed to do, being
Mhm.
told when to sit, when to stand, when we can use the restroom or not, et cetera, et cetera. I think that this also starts when we're younger as well,
Mhm.
because for a lot of us, it's undealt with trauma
Mhm.
that then creates a situation where we're projecting our
Mhm.
undealt with, our unprocessed emotions onto other people. And I think that government itself is the mechanism that allows a lot of traumatized
Mhm.
people to project it onto the world under the
Yeah.
guise of, doing the right thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think